So, hello. The first question is in English. I can see, can you describe your experience as a contributor? Well, from the get-go, somebody contacted me on LinkedIn. Seemed odd, I would say. Secondly, I tried to press a link and I think I took a small questionnaire or something like that. And then I was pointed directly to the Outlier platform where I met something called Persona. And I needed to give all my identity away. And I was very hesitant at that point. I didn't know Persona. I didn't knew Outlier. It seemed strange that somebody totally strange for me would contact me over LinkedIn. But I took a leap of faith and then I got into the platform. And now I was curious, also because I'm working with AI, what everything here was. And then I started doing some tasks and I could understand there was like a discrepancy between assessment pay and the normal pay, but I was unsure if I was doing assessment tasks or what I was doing and how far I was in doing that and when perhaps I would get to like the normal pay. That was very unclear. So I started to apparently earn some money, but at that point I didn't know if I would get the money because again I didn't know anything about the platform. But then at some point I both got to the full amount payment, $30 per hour, which I think is a fair payment, also in Denmark for that kind of task. And I also got my money. So I thought it was very fair. The small transaction of, I think, was like a cent in the beginning to like figure out if there's like, if there's a connection between my bank, etc. It doesn't really prove anything to me. So my total experience of being a contributor was that of uh, very, very hesitant, thought perhaps this was a scam fully, to happiness when I thought, I basically figured out this is not a scam. Also because, of course, I could read on Reddit and other places as well that this was definitely a scam, but also I could read a lot of people actually saying this is not a scam. So this is why I took the leap of faith. But I understand everybody who stops at the persona stage at least, and also I kind of understand everybody who goes into Outlier and does a lot of work and doesn't get paid because, of course, what they're doing is they're like the initial um, training, and I think that's a problem because people get they get a feeling that they get swindled on that level because they do invest a lot of time before they see anything. So that's a but the now I'm happy. Now I know it's fair and legit and honest to be clear. Secondly, describe your leadership style and how it helps in managing a team effectively. Well, I'm very systematic and structured, and I'm very empathic as well. I always try to listen a lot to other people. I know that I don't know anything or everything actually. I do know some things. But so I listen very consciously to other people and I make sure that they know that I listen. But I also expect them to listen to me. But then I structure things very well and I split things up into small bits so that everything is very clear. um, and I think like in small steps processes. This is basically what I do. Also, I usually tend to go first into a task so that I can figure out how it works, and so that I can easily communicate to somebody else how it should be done. But I expect that people would be better than me to do it, or at least I hope so. I'm always trying to find people better than me. So that's how I basically manage a team, which coincidentally I also do. I have my current work. I do this and I do it well, basically. Third question, you're managing a project with remote team members in different time zones. How do you coordinate tasks? Well, I do that right now. I have a team in Pakistan, and we have a team in Macedonia, and we have a team in Denmark. I also had a team in Hong Kong at some point. This is a while ago. All this. What we did was that we delegated tasks to Slack. When we find something that requires a little bit of a structure, but that can be done, you basically leave messages to people, and that again requires some structure in what kind of a message you leave. For instance, you don't say we have a problem there. Instead, you send a specific link to what there is, as an example. And secondly, for instance, the meetings with the Pakistani people would just be held late in the afternoon. No problem with that. Or perhaps very early in the morning. Also had the meetings with people from the United States. That's similar. Just basically take time when necessary. So that's really not a problem. I don't see any problem with that. Fourth question, how do you prioritize tasks and projects when you have multiple deadlines to meet? Well, that's an interesting question. So, well, if you have too much to do, the first thing you need to do is to prioritize what is most important, and you need to define what important is. So, for instance, in sales, you have the same. You have many perhaps tasks you need to do in sales, but you take the task that is most closely to get a sale. You take that first, and then you take basically one at a time. You have to do that. If you have too much to do all the time, you need to start delegating. But again, back to question number 3 regarding managing a project with remote team members, etc. You need to structure and tell them how to do it so that they can take over from you. That's basically how to do that. Question number 5, how do you respond to constructive criticism or feedback from colleagues or superiors? I I respond really well to that. I welcome it. I listen to other people. I think that again, I don't know everything, uh, and 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 I know that I'm subjective. I know that I need objective advice. So I need constructive criticism. I need people to be objective to me because I know I don't know everything 100%. So now in your native language, so I'm just gonna say this in Danish. Øh, Hvordan sikrer du dig, at alle i holdet bliver genkendt eller nærmere belønnet for deres arbejde, lige meget hvad deres rolle eller niveau er? Hvordan sikrer du dig, at de bliver glade for at udføre arbejdet? Jamen, en måde at gøre det på, det er, at man i hvert fald fortæller dem, at man er glad for det, de gør. Øh, men hvis det er muligt at give noget ekstra på et tidspunkt, og det skal jo være uden, at man... altså, hvis nu for eksempel man er i stand til at fortælle dem, at her er en mulighed for udvikling over tid personligt, så skal det også være sådan, at der rent faktisk er udvikling over tid. Men det kræver så som leder, at man er i stand til at identificere de steder, hvor der er udvikling over tid. Og det vil så være noget, man så går tilbage til organisationen og begynder at finde ud af, hvordan er det så, vi egentlig kan udvikle en person. Fordi det kan være en måde at belønne folk på, så man grundlæggende, man fremmer dem ikke, men man kan give dem nogle ekstra ting, som de grundlæggende kan håndtere for at vise dem respekt. Og så selvfølgelig også igen lytte til folk og ligesom fortælle dem, at man kan sige hvad som helst, sådan at der ikke er noget problem i at fortælle dem hvad som helst. Og så er der også mulighed for at lave ting, hvor der måske kan få belønning konkret som hold, hvis holdet de gennemfører nogle ting. Punkt 2. Hvordan må du sikre, at vi holder fortrolige informationer tilbage, eller skal man sige, holde dem fortrolige i projektet? Altså den bedste måde at tilbageholde fortrolige informationer i et remote team, det er ikke at dele fortrolige informationer. Så muligvis skulle man finde ud af, at man ikke deler fortrolige informationer med folk, så de ikke deler dem. Men ellers selvfølgelig må man kommunikere, hvad man må og hvad man ikke må, hvis der skal deles et eller andet fortroligt. Det ved jeg jo, at der skal i Outlier. Og så måske, hvis man virkelig skal sikre sig, så kan man jo søge efter det nogle gange og finde ud af, er der noget fortrolig information, der er kommet ud, ved for eksempel på Google eller søgemaskiner osv. Men jeg tror overordnet, det bedste man kan gøre, det er simpelthen at lade være med at dele fortrolig information så vidt muligt. Hvilke step vil du tage for at håndtere en besværlig medarbejder, en eller anden, der er rude, eller contributor, hvor vi samtidig skal være professionel? Jamen, jeg havde en direktør, der så råbte af mig her den anden dag. Han synes, jeg lagde ord i munden på ham, så han sad og råbte af mig hen over bordet, at jeg ikke skulle lægge ord i munden på ham og så videre. Måden jeg håndterede ham på, det var, at jeg kiggede på ham og ventede til han var færdig med at råbe. Og så sagde jeg til ham stille og roligt, okay, jeg har forstået, at du synes, jeg lagde ord i munden på dig, og det beklager jeg. Og det var selvfølgelig en direktør, som jeg så skulle sælge noget til, og det kan være en måde at håndtere det på. Hvis jeg har en der er sur på en eller anden måde, så tror jeg, jeg vil tage en til en snak, og så finde ud af, hvordan det kan være, at de er så sure. For det kan være, at de er stresset eller et eller andet. Og hvis det er sådan, det ikke er det, så er jeg nødt til at forklare dem. Vi kan ikke have en sådan opførsel, fordi det er det er noget, jeg bliver ked af, og det er noget, folk omkring mig bliver ked af. Og hvis det bliver ved, så er vi nødt til at afskedige vedkommende. Men grundlæggende så vil jeg tro, at en eller anden form for besværlig medarbejder, en eller anden, der er der for eksempel sviner andre til, eller noget den boldgade, har en eller anden grund til, at de gør det. Og så finder vi ud af den grundlæggende grund, men virkeligheden, så tror jeg, det I spørger om, det er, om jeg kan være i stand til at tage personlige konflikter. Ja, det er slet ikke noget problem. Jeg dyrker kampsport, og jeg er vant til at tage alle mulige konflikter hele tiden. Men jeg kan jo finde ud af at skalere op og ned. Ingen problem med det. Punkt 4. Hvilke steps vil du tage for at... Okay, hvad for nogle steps vil jeg, eller hvad for nogle skridt vil jeg tage, hvis jeg får tildelt et projekt, jeg ikke er bekendt med? Jamen altså, jeg vil jo søge informationer om, hvad det her projekt det handler om. Det får jeg tit. Jeg undersøger, hvordan man løser det, og så løser jeg det. Men jeg tror også ofte, at jeg deler det op. Hvis vi får noget rigtig svært, jeg skal lave, og jeg slet ikke er bekendt med det, så vil jeg undersøge overordnet, hvordan løser man det her, og så vil jeg tage i bidder det, som der er med det. Jeg vil tage det, jeg nemt kunne finde ud af først, og så vil jeg gå til det svære først. Og de ting, jeg ikke selv ville kunne finde ud af, der vil jeg begynde at bede andre om hjælp. Så grundlæggende, det handler om at få løst projektet. Så det kan godt være, at jeg er nødt til også at bede andre om hjælp. Og det er sådan, jeg vil løse alle problemer. Jeg samlede et skur for noget tid siden. Der var det problematisk for mig at lave cement ned i hullet. Så fik jeg en kammerat til at komme og hjælpe med det, men jeg kunne grundlæggende lave alt andet selv. Et godt eksempel. Det var det. I må spørge, hvis jeg har flere spørgsmål. Det var det. Hej. Bye.